Hedgehog.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. This is a festive occasion because after this episode, it'll be Christmas and or the holidays. And I hope you all have a nice Christmas or whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a good one. If you don't celebrate anything, hell, I just hope you have a good day, you know? But we are here and we are doing the podcast. The video game podcast about video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. So let's just jump right in with the first topic for today, which is, of course, I guess that's not staying on, which is, of course, the Ferret Awards. They're here. They are actually here. The voting sheet is now available for you to vote on, and that will be available until January 1st. So you have about a week and a half to figure it out. The full-blown show will be on the 4th of January. So if you want to swing by my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/YemmyTheFerret, on Saturday morning, I will be live around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Or is it Daylight Savings Time? Doesn't matter. 10 o'clock. And we'll start the festivities and give out the awards. But you might want to know what you're voting on. So the 4th Annual Ferret Awards, the voting sheet will be linked down in the description. I'll try to remember this time because I forgot to the last couple times. And yeah, I'll just go through all the nominees here, all picked by you. There's only a few games that I had to actually put in myself. The nice thing is that in almost the 11th hour, we got a nice handful of nomination sheets in, which I do appreciate. So all in all, we did have a nice number of nomination sheets. And we'll see how many responses we get on the voting sheet. I also made a hype video for the Ferret Awards. That is on my YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, put a little bit of time into it, put a little bit of effort into it. You know, I thought it was just a fun little thing there. And the link for the voting document is also in the description of that video as well. It's also on the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, link is down in the description. Let's go through it. The Game of the Year nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Nine Souls, Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden, and Rusty's Retirement. Worst Game of the Year. The nominees are Funko Fusion, Skull and Bones, Willy's Wonderland, The Game, Concord, South Park Snow Day. Best Indie Game. Animal Well, Another Crab's Treasure, Balatro, Mouthwashing, and Nightmare Cart. Best Narrative. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Another Crab's Treasure, and Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Best Performance by an Actor or Actress, Milena Jurgens, who plays Senua from Hellblade 2, Hannah Tell, who plays Max Caulfield from Life is Strange Double Exposure, Brianna White, who plays Aerith from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Andrew Nolan, who plays Harold Halibut from Harold Halibut, and Michael Reeves, who plays Firth and the Lone Shark from Another Crab's Treasure. Best Remaster or Remake. We have Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Persona 3 Reload, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Best Combat goes to, the nominees are Black Myth Wukong, Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and Rivals of Aether 2. Rivals of Aether 2, my apologies. Most Unique Experience, we have Animal Well, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Grun, Balatro, and Nightmare Cart. The Game That Left You Speechless, the nominees are 1000X Resist, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, Another Crab's Treasure, Mouthwashing, and Animal Well. Best Audio Design the nominees are Astrobot, Animal Well, Lego Horizon Adventures, Kill Knight, and Angerfoot. Best Soundtrack. The nominees are Stellar Blade, Astrobot, Nine Souls, Another Crab's Treasure, and SteamWorld Heist 2. Best Single Song, we have Astro from Astrobot, Warriors in Valor from Metaphor Refantasio, Heist Ahoy performed by Steam Powered Giraffe from Steam World Heist 2, the main theme of Balatro, and Welcome to the Fight from Helldivers 2. Best Graphics or Visuals, the nominees are Astrobot, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Flock, and Black Myth Wukong. Best Multiplayer, the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Web Fishing, Chained Together, and Marvel Rivals. Best Gameplay went to, why do I keep saying that? Nominees are Frog Monster, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Parking Garage Rally Circuit, and Black Myth Wukong. Best Action-Adventure genre game went to The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Black Myth Wukong, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, and Stellar Blade. Best RPG or JRPG, the nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Unicorn Overlord, Black Myth Wukong, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Dragon's Dogma 2. Best Platformer Game, the nominees are Astrobot, Grapple Dogs, Cosmic Canines, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, Celeste 64, Fragments of the Mountain, and Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. Best Sports Game, the nominees are EA Sports College Football 25, MLB The Show 24, WWE 2K24, New Star GP, and Quidditch World Champions. Best Shooter Game, the nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Frog Monster, I Am Your Beast, Mullet Mad Jack, and Buckshot Roulette. Best Strategy or Puzzle Game, the nominees are SteamWorld Heist 2, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Balatro, Armored Brigade 2, and Corpo Nation: The Sorting Process. Our best early access title nominees are TCG Card Shop Simulator, Toy Shire, Aero GPX, Hades 2, and Pal World. Best DLC Update Content Drop, the nominees are Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Vampire Survivors Castlevania DLC, Dredge The Iron Rig, Dead Island 2 Sola Festival, and Brotato Abyssal Terrors. Our Still Playing Award nominees are Power Wash Simulator, Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Played Up, Command & Conquer Generals 0 Hour, and Ravenfield. And the nominees for favorite game that I, Yemmy the Ferret, streamed in 2024, the nominees are Bayonetta 2, Little Nightmares 2, Sherlock Holmes: The Devil's Daughter, Lego Marvel Superheroes, Puss in Boots, and Halo 3. Those are all your categories. Those are all your nominees. We already have responses, so make sure that you go in there and get your votes. Get your vote in there. Get your votes in. If you think that my award show is missing something, why didn't you nominate it? That's all I gotta say. Like I said, I only had to fill in like one or two. Well, maybe I think it was like 4 slots in total, which I'm very happy about. The less that I have to do for this kind of thing, the better, because I really wanted to make it the community nominations and not just like me myself, which was how I went for the first 2 years. Was kind of like, oh, my nominations are and my games are, and then you vote on them. But once year 2 came around, I started like rethinking it, like, oh, the nominations should go to the people. And that's when I opened it up for people to put in nominations on the Discord. And then I opened up the forum in year 3, and now year 4, we've kind of just expanded on it a bit. The new category was best early access game. I decided not to go through with best cover artwork. Not enough people nominated games, and I thought that it's just maybe a category that people just didn't want to see. So there you go. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the first part of the show, which is what's in the news. Okay, we're going to start off this section with some fun stuff. We're going to do our year in review for Steam and Nintendo Switch. We're going to start off with our Steam review. These are available now on Steam. Just log in, and if you go under your profile, your year in review should be there. So, I played 132 games on Steam this year, 48 more games than last year. I added 101 games to my account. I think a fair amount of those are free hidden cat games, so I think that number's a little bit bloated, but it is still correct. I unlocked 1,606 achievements. I earned 885 more achievements than last year. Out of the 97 games I played, there were 79 rare achievements in those 97 games. I mostly played on keyboard and mouse 71% of the time, with 29% being on the controller. My top played game, with 47% of my overall playtime, 163 sessions played, is Rusty's Retirement. My second highest played game is at 5% with 58 sessions, and Helldivers 2, and then SteamWorld Heist 2 with 3%, 17 play sessions. 82% of my playtime this year was new releases, with 6% being classic games and 12% being recent favorites, games that I have played a lot over the past 1 to 7 years. I've earned 7 badges this year, added 1 new friend, shared 3 screenshots. Who cares about that? So the breakdown of my time, it's kind of wild how much I played Rusty's Retirement this year. But it's one of those games that you kind of open up and you let play, and the breakdowns are so fun with these types of things. The breakdown of the playtime by month, I always love this stuff. You know, it shows you like every game that you played, mostly every game that you played. So like in January, my first game I played was Lego Marvel Superheroes. I also played a little bit of Dark Souls 3 and Phantom Abyss, of course, and stuff like that. And February was like my least played month for whatever reason. I only played a couple of games, but 49% of the month was Balatro. There you go. Helldivers 2 took over a couple months in a row. We had Rusty's Retirement obviously coming around. Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, SteamWorld Heist 1. I played that before the new game came out. The Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. Octodad. Call of Duty Advanced Infinite Warfare. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. 12% of my playtime in July. That was when the game was on sale for like $20, I think, and I decided to get it. So, yeah, I always love these breakdowns. Like, even like a game that you played maybe for 1 second shows up on these things, so it's always pretty fun. My longest daily streak was 35 days in a row. That went from August 24th through September 28th, and I played 23 different games during that streak. And then there's just there's a more comprehensive and deep breakdown as well, which I don't need to bore you with. But yeah, I shared mine to my profile, of course, and you can actually see other people's replays as well. So like I can click on Greedy Waffles' page, and then it shows that Greedy Waffles played 24% of his year was Helldivers 2, and 19% of his year was Elden Ring, and 15% was Talos Principle 2, and blah blah blah. So I think it's really fun how Steam sets this up, and I can't complain. It's a very fun thing to look at. So if you want to check yours out, if you have a Steam account and you play on Steam on your computer, like I said, it's just underneath your profile, and go to your year in review. Pretty fun. Also, the Nintendo Switch year in review is now available, and if you log into your Nintendo accounts, you can see what all happened. So the first game that me or my significant other played was SpongeBob SquarePants Krusty Cook-Off. And that was actually played on January 1st. So who knows if that was like at 1 a.m. in the morning, but there you go. I played a total of 29 games on Switch, totaling 155 hours. Now, the one thing that's a little bit skewed about this is that I played a lot of Mario and Luigi Brothership in December, right before this came out. So I think that there would probably be about I feel like 10 extra hours added to that, but I digress. It's not that big of a deal. My most played games in 2024 were Game Boy and Nintendo Switch Online. And I do agree with that. I turned that on almost daily at one point because there was new games. I mean, I've obviously been playing that a lot because the new Donkey Kong Land games have been coming out. So there you go. Bayonetta 3 and Mario and Luigi Brothership are tied at 13 hours, but like I said, it didn't count my final hours for Mario and Luigi Brothership because I played it too close to when this came out. So that's unfortunate. My gaming style is 44% action, 22% adventure, and 10% strategy, with the rest being kind of lower. I played the most Switch in January for 27 hours played. I don't know why that is. Did I play like a big Switch game in January on stream? I don't think so. I don't know. That's just what happened. And my second largest month was July with 24 hours, which makes sense because that was during my summer backlog event, and we played a lot of games on Switch during that. It doesn't even count December hours, so yeah. Let me see what my top played games each month were. So we have January was Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. February was Bayonetta 2. March was Katamari Damacy Reroll. April was Princess Peach Showtime. May was Advanced Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. June was Game Boy. July was NES World Champions. August was Game Boy. September was Bayonetta 3. October was Bayonetta 3. And November was Mario and Luigi Brothership. So, there you go. And then it's like pick your favorite game of 2024. And it's like, well, Game Boy, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I always love these little wrap-ups. I think they do such a good job with them. Most of the companies do a pretty good job with them. Obviously, Steam is my favorite of them all, but Nintendo does a great job of breaking things down. PlayStation also, which we did last week. So there you go. And if you want to check out any of your stuff, like I said, just log on to the Nintendo Switch Online on your computer, or I don't even think it needs to be a computer, and you can check out your stats. All right, moving right along. The PlayStation blog has revealed its Game of the Year winners and all the other categories as well. So the PlayStation blog does this every year. 1.6 million people cast their vote this year. I was one of those people. So let's see what won. Because I didn't go over the nominations. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I do like to go over the winners of these various award shows and award things. So we got the best PS5 game was Astrobot. The best PS4 game was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. The best new character was Eve from Stellar Blade. The best story went to Silent Hill 2. Best graphical showcase went to Black Myth Wukong. Best art direction, Astrobot. Best audio design, Astrobot. Best soundtrack, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Best use of the DualSense controller went to Astrobot. Best accessibility features went to Astrobot. Best multiplayer experience went to Helldivers 2. Best ongoing game went to Fortnite. Best expansion went to Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth Tree. Best sports game went to EA Sports FC 25. Best re-release went to The Last of Us 2 Remastered. Best indie game went to Balatro. Best PSVR 2 game went to Resident Evil 4. Did they release that on... Oh, it's the new version. I remember I played a Resident Evil 4 for like the original version of the game in VR on the Oculus. And I was hoping that they had really released that version, because that version was much more fun than the VR game for Resident Evil 4. Anyway, doesn't matter. Studio of the Year went to Team Asobi for Astrobot, and the most anticipated game of 2025 and beyond is Ghost of Yotai, of course, because it's a PlayStation blog. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, good list of games, nice winners. Nothing more to say other than congratulations to the winners. Speaking of Sony, though, and PlayStation, Sony became the biggest shareholder in Kadokawa's company. So essentially, Sony now owns the largest amount of shares in the company, which is... Okay, so Sony purchased 12,054,100 shares in the company, which was 50 billion yen or $320 million. Sony already owned a 2% stake already, but now they own more of like a. I mean, it feels like that's got to be like a 50% stake. They don't really break it down in this article, but essentially that means that Sony doesn't own the company. They just have a very large share, which also means that they will have a very large alliance. They shook hands on that one. So in a press release, they said, with the acquisition of new shares, Sony will become Kadokawa's largest shareholder, holding approximately 10% of its shares, including the shares Sony previously acquired in February 2021. They said that this tightened relationship will maximize both companies' IP value globally and facilitate wider and deeper collaborations, such as potential joint investments in the content field, joint discovery of new creators, and joint promotion of further media mixes of both companies' IP. In the future, the two companies plan to discuss specific initiatives for collaboration, such as initiatives to adapt Kadokawa's IP into live-action films and TV dramas, co-produce anime works, expand global distribution of Kadokawa's anime works through the Sony Group, further expand publishing of Kadokawa's games, and develop human resources to promote and expand virtual production. So this is actually a good thing for people who were afraid at Microsoft or like who are fans of Xbox. It doesn't seem like this will mean that Sony is going to change all of From Software's games over to PlayStation only. But this could mean that we see maybe a couple more of those like Bloodborne type games that get a exclusive release on PlayStation. So we'll see what happens in the future. It seems like Sony didn't want to buy Kadokawa outright, and I think that most people like this better than Sony buying the company. But we'll see what happens in the future. For me personally, I think that this is a good thing for PlayStation, obviously. I think that's also an okay thing for the gaming community as a whole. It seemed like Kadokawa's demands for like a full buyout were maybe a bit too much for Sony, but Sony was like, well, we'd always just buy a good amount of shares and then we can have a very strong relationship with them. So I think that that's a good thing for most gamers out there. Like I said, for me personally, I don't mind this whole thing going on here. I mean, we got one of the best games of all time from a Sony and From Software collaboration, which is Bloodborne. So we'll see what happens in the future. That's my main thing right there. All right. Apparently, PEGI, the rating board in Europe, will not budge on Balatro's 18+ rating. Back a few months ago, it was like when it first released. A few months after its release, Balatro was changed to an 18+ rating almost suddenly overnight by the PEGI board. And we now have an official reason as to why it was rated 18+. And the developer behind Balatro, named Local Thunk, he actually talked with PEGI directly. He talked with PEGI, and they are not budging on the 18+ rating with Balatro. When he inquired about games like EA Sports FC and other games that have gambling aspects to them having a 3+ rating, they said they didn't have anything to say about that. He blamed EU laws, storefronts, and just the PEGI board sitting on their hands at this point. He was hoping that something would come out of it, but nothing has come out of it. But we do know exactly why the game is rated 18+, and it's because allegedly the game teaches you how to play poker hands, which can lead to, of course, the real thing and gambling. Now, in my opinion, this is pretty ridiculous because, as this article states on pushsquare.com, other games that have gambling being prominent and not being a part of the game, but being a prominent thing in the game, like Texas Hold'em Poker, Pure Hold'em World Poker Champion, and the Four Kings Casino and Slots, all have a PEGI rating of 12 and not 18+. So why does Balatro get the rating of 18+ when it's not even really teaching you how to play poker? It's teaching you about the hands of poker, just not how to play poker, where these games that are literally simulation games about poker are getting a lower rating is beyond me. That is very weird. In the US, Balatro is only rated a 10+, probably because of the fact that it uses poker hands. But apparently the ESRB people know the difference between learning how to play a poker hand and actually utilizing how the hand to play poker are two very different things. So, yeah, I mean, as of this point, Balatro is still 18 plus in in Europe, which means that a lot of people who are younger won't be able to play the game, and that could also deter people from buying it if it's 18 plus for like their kids or something like that. Which, I mean, it doesn't really do much in the U.S. I mean, kids are constantly getting Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty in their stockings, but it's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I don't understand myself why this is happening. As a person who plays the game and I've spent plenty of hours in it, it just boggles my mind that the PEGI board would be like, actually this game is teaching the younger generation to play poker, and it's like, because you're teaching them like you need 4 of the same card to get a good score. Or like a 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row to get a better score. Yeah, okay. Sure, Jan. All right, Sonic 3 recently came out, and Paramount has confirmed that there is a 4th Sonic movie already in the works that'll be coming in 2027, spring of 2027. So they even have a release window for it. This was an obvious thing. Sonic 3 has been doing pretty good at the box office. And apparently there's 2 after credit scenes that already alluded to a sequel being inbound for the series. And I don't know if Jim Carrey is signed on for the role. Probably. I mean, he's obviously one of the main fixtures of the movies. But if you're a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog and you're a fan of the Sonic movies, Sonic 4 coming 2027. I mean, that's not too far away. They're probably still filming it, I would think. Maybe they filmed it at the same time as Sonic 3. It's hard to say because I do know that the editing and animating process probably takes a good chunk of those 3 years. Do I like that they're already doing a Sonic 4? Yeah, I mean, the first one was fun. I mean, even though it had a little bit of cringe in there with Sonic doing the floss dance, it was still a fun time. I never went to go see the second one, and I might not see the third one. I don't have Paramount Plus, and I'm not like gonna rent the movie because unless it's chosen on my other podcast, Film Freaks, or something like that. But it's not like I didn't want to go see Sonic 2, but at the time of its release, it was still like that end of COVID kind of thing going on, and I was a bit nervous. Obviously, as a person with asthma, don't really want to get COVID, So, but. I'm happy that it's getting another sequel, and hopefully in the future I'll be able to watch the rest of the movies before that one comes out. Maybe I'll even go see Sonic 3 in theaters if I get it done soon enough. Speaking of adaptions of video games for a wider audience, I suppose you could say, Pacific Drive is apparently getting a TV adaptation from a horror legend who is James Wan, who is also known for Saw, The Conjure, Insidious, and Malignant, which are, I mean, it's a bit mixed there. I mean, the Saw movies are fun. The Conjuring, I think, had pretty good numbers. I don't remember Insidious being that great. Malignant, I haven't seen that one. But obviously this is a pretty big thing. This is the IP has been not bought, but it has been allowed to be used by Atomic Monster, who is the horror production studio founded by James Wan. The TV adaptation will pick up on what Pacific Drive does with the car and the weird alien mumbo jumbo going on, the weird stuff going on. Right now, the series has just started production. They're trying to get it off the ground fully. Right now, there is no streaming website or anything like that has picked up the show. But hopefully we'll hear some news about that in the future. I think that this game is ripe for a TV adaptation, something that gives it a bit more structure narratively than the game itself, because the game itself is a roguelite at its core. Obviously you need to work and build on your car, and you need to go deeper and deeper into the zone and try and figure out what's going on and try to escape. And I think that that's ripe for a TV adaptation where they can have a bit more stakes, where the car gets broken down and the guy, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I don't want to speculate too much, but I think that it'd be a pretty fun game to adapt into a TV series, and we'll see what they do. We'll see what James Wan does. All right, so if you don't recall, the physical edition of Croc, The Legend of the Gobos Remastered, or whatever it's being called, it did not have an Xbox version. It had a PC version and a PlayStation version and a Switch version, physically, I should say. I guess there isn't a PC version physically. I misspoke there. But Xbox fans were wondering, like, hey, why is there an Xbox version physically? And Argonaut Games came out and said that there is no demand for an Xbox physical game. And there is a solution they came up with, though, which is putting a digital code in with the Collector's Edition if anyone wants the Collector's Edition, but they have an Xbox. Obviously, there's a bit of backlash for this, and Argonaut had to come out and say in a more detailed way, respectfully, there are minimum manufacturing runs for physical, and all our data indicates that we would not be able to sell enough copies to justify manufacturing physical for Xbox. We developed the game, so it's not as if we don't want it on other platforms, but we have to be realistic. We've tried really hard to come up with a practical solution where the alternative is not to have one. It's unfortunate news for people who do own an Xbox and want the game physically. And even though there are probably a lot of people who have a physical collection of Xbox games, that's not really the direction that Xbox has been going. And I feel like more so than, more people who want this game are going to just go and buy it digitally, either on Steam or on Xbox. And if their numbers back it up, I mean, how can you argue against that? I mean, even if there's like 100 people in the comments who are like, well, I would buy a physical version. I would say less than half of those people would actually go out and buy the physical version. So it's one of those things where it's like it's a bit of a double-sided oh my god. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, where it's like one side is like, okay, if we do this, then we probably are going to lose a lot of money from physically distributing the games. But if we don't do this and we don't give out a physical version of the game, people are going to be a bit angry at us, and there's going to be some backlash. So I guess they went with the one side that was going to save them as a company in the long run. And I mean, people probably will get over the fact that there isn't a physical version of the game on Xbox. I don't think that that's too big of a deal, honestly. And even if there wasn't like a physical version for Switch or PlayStation, I wouldn't be too broken up because it is. Argonaut Studios is a smaller studio. They're remastering a game that is kind of niche. I feel like it's a pretty niche game in general. Even though it's beloved by a lot of people, it still is a more niche game. They took a big gamble by just remastering this game in general, and having the amount of hype behind the re-release of this game and a remaster of this game is great. But they also still need to be realistic and not give in to the hype by doing something like, just manufacturing too many copies of the game that doesn't have as big of a demand as people probably think it does. So it's unfortunate for Xbox fans, but once again, you can get a digital version of the game with the collector's edition if you so desire, if you want that version of it. Speaking of physical games, Nine Souls is getting a physical release in 2025 for the Switch. They are partnering with Fan Gamer to release a physical edition of Nine Souls for Nintendo Switch. Please note that Fan Gamer is currently the exclusive retailer for Nintendo Switch physical copy. Stay tuned for our latest update. So right now, it seems like there's just going to be a Switch version. They did not announce a PlayStation version right now. I don't think either that or the PlayStation version is coming from a different source, which would be kind of weird. But we'll have to wait and see. Right now, they just said 2025, so I'm guessing pre-orders will be starting up probably in January, most likely, maybe even February. Nine Souls is a 2D like Souls-like experience, almost like Blasphemous. People have been calling it the 2D Sekiro, which I do tend to agree with. It is very Sekiro-like. It's also kind of Hollow Knight-like as well. It does have a couple of different inspirations. Has a very nice art style. But if you want to check that out, Nine Souls will be coming to Switch in 2025 physically. I know it's already on Switch right now, but it is coming physically. So if you haven't bought the game yet and you do want to buy it, this might be a good pickup for you. This also seems like one of those games that will... now, this is not advice for any reason. This is my personal thoughts. It seems like this is one of those games that will gain value the older it gets because there's probably going to be a limited amount of them sold and or produced. So there you go. This is not financial advice whatsoever. This is just my opinion. And it sucks that I have to say that, but I do. All right, Skibidi Toilet has finally arrived in Fortnite. Yummy, why are you talking like this? Well, it's why are you talking about this? Well, it's because there's not a lot going on this week. Okay, I apologize. For 2,200 V-Bucks, you can acquire the Skibidi Toilet bundle, which is a 5-item bundle. It includes the cameraman skin, the Skibidi Toilet backpack, the plunger melee weapon. It also comes with a bonus glider. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It looks like it's just kind of like a drone type thing, I suppose. So yeah, I believe there's also a Lego version of this skin in Fortnite Lego as well, so you can use that there as that too. So a lot of people were like, well, how can they put Skibidi Toilet in Fortnite when Valve owns the characters and there's a problem going on with the Skibidi movie? So I think the way that they skirted around this is they made the Skibidi Toilet guy. He doesn't look like G-Man. It just kind of looks like a generic Fortnite skin, but he's got the the Joker grin and the wide eyes. So that is how they skirted around that. Is this truly the end times for Fortnite? No. I mean, this was a long time coming. Well, maybe not a long time. So I don't think Skibidi Toilet hasn't been around for that long, has it? I guess it's been around long enough that I'm talking about it now on my podcast. So there you go. But yeah, 2,200 V-Bucks. I think that's like, is that like $20? I feel like that's $20 or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, there you go. If you want Skibidi Toilet in your Fortnite, buy that, I guess, if you so desire. All right, there's a new Dead or Alive waifu game coming out. This one is called Venus Vacation Prism Dead or Alive Extreme. So if you don't recall, the Dead or Alive series has featured like volleyball and various mini games, and of course highly detailed models of a couple of the characters from the Dead or Alive fighting game into a more like sexy style, right? So the volleyball was very much like here's the detailed boob physics, and here's the they're playing in water and blah 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 blah. So this version of the game is not going to have as many mini games as the other in the series. Rather, it's more focused on a dating sim archetype where you spend most of your time trying to get in the pants of 6 ladies featured in the game. And you, of course, can observe, quote-unquote, the outcomes. There's a couple of minor mini-games in the game because as you woo the different women, you get to go do stuff with them. So one of them is like going into a lake and splashing water around. And the in a quote from the studio, they said, "When wet, the skin and fabric of the clothing changes in real time. Don't miss those magical moments." Another game is called Hand Sumo, where you playfully wrestle with the girls, and if you win the battle, you may topple over and fall on your favorite waifu. There's a couple other ones as well. So this game will also have a photo mode attached to it, of course. The game is set to be released on the 6th of March, but it's only going to be available in Japan and Asia at this time. So if you have a Japanese or Asian account for your PlayStation, then you get to play this game. If not, you might have to wait a little bit for localization, or maybe it'll never come over in general. Who knows? We'll see. But if you want to check that out, Venus Vacation Prism Dead or Alive Extreme is coming next year in March. All right, Hypercharge Unboxed. This is a game that kind of took the internet by storm last year when it came to PC and Xbox, and now this year they're planning for a PS4 and 5 release, which will probably come next year. In 2025. So the developer of the game came out and said, hey, would you like to see a PS5 and PS4 game? And a lot of people replied, and etc. So they came out again on Twitter and said, okay, PlayStation players turned up. Thank you for the support. We'll take that as a yes. So it seems like now they will be making a PlayStation version of the game, and they're hoping that it gets just as much love as it did on PC and Xbox as well. So the game is like a first-person shooter that is more of like a wave defender, but I believe there is like a PvP mode in there that you can play. But the big thing is the wave defender mode. And Greedy Waffles and I played it a bit when it originally came out this year. Was it last year? I think it was last year it came early access to PC, but we played a bit. It was fun. It was an enjoyable time, but it was a bit too one note in a lot of different ways. So if you want to check this out, though, there's a trailer on IGN's YouTube channel and also the official YouTube channel of the studio. And it looks like in 2025 we'll be getting a PlayStation version of the game. All right, SNK has announced the Volume 3 and Volume 4 of the ACA Neo Geo Selections. So this is coming exclusively to Japan on the 10th of April. I believe you will be able to purchase it through Play Asia, I believe, if you are not in that area. But I don't believe there is a English version of these games just yet. So essentially, the Neo Geo Selection Volume 3 and 4 will be a collection of various games from the Neo Geo line. The Volume 3 will include 3 Count Bout, Baseball Stars 2, Blazing Star, Fatal Fury King of Fighters, The King of Fighters 96, Last Resort, Ninja Combat, Samurai Showdown 3, Blades of Blood, Sengoku, and World Heroes Perfect. ACA Neo Geo Selection Volume 4 will include Art of Fighting 3, The King of Fighters 2000, The Last Blade, Metal Slug, Neo Geo Cup 98, The Road to Victory, Ninja Commando, Polestar, Puzzled, how the fuck do you say this? Ragnagard, and The Super Spy. So both those versions will be launching on the same day in Japan. I'm sorry, I was wrong. They do include English language support, though, so this could be coming to America in the future. I don't remember if the Volume 1 or 2 came to America. No, not yet. The Volume 2 was actually released December 12th in Japan. So we have Volume 1 and 2 already available in those countries. Volume 3 and 4 is still about to come out. Volume 1 was a pretty good collection, if I'm not mistaken, with Metal Slug X, Samurai Showdown 5, Top Hunter. Volume 2 had a couple more good games too. Fatal Fury 2, Neo Turf Masters, Shock Trooper Second Squad. So yeah, it'd be nice to see all 4 of these games come over to America. I think that'd be great. Especially if they have English support. That means that there probably is a version coming out for America. And with the Switch not being a region-locked console, you could technically buy this game from a Japanese distributor and have it shipped here. Obviously, it's going to cost you a bit more. But if they do put it out on the various, I think Play Asia is the big one where you can actually have things shipped to America if you so desire. You can probably go there and buy the games there. So, but yeah, there you go. All right, here are some more Xbox 360 games and others that will be closing their online servers in 2025, early 2025. So we already had a couple of 360 games that were announced to be closing their servers, but here are another handful of games. So we have WWE 2K23 closing down in January. EA Sports Roy McIlroy PGA Tour. Blue Protocol, UFC 3, Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. Wow, that's actually a newer game, isn't it? That one, I feel like we played that game. I played that game like 3 or 4 years ago. Holy shit. The Golf Club 2, NCAA Football 14, and Kart Rider Drift. NCAA 14 is another big one. That's the final NCAA game that was released before EA Sports College Football 25. So that's a pretty big one. The Golf Club 1 and 2, those are big golf games back in the day. And once again, Dark Alliance, Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, I think that's like the newest release on here, other than WWE 2K23. So yeah, all those games are being shutting down. Most of them, I believe, are on Xbox 360. Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but there you go. And finally, for the news today and coming soon, I kind of combined them on accident. Nintendo Music has added a Zelda soundtrack, which is Legend of Zelda, the Skyward Sword. So they are going to be adding Skyward Sword songs to this. It looks like they're the original Wii versions of the songs, probably remastered for the Switch version, of course. So every song included, there are, oh my gosh, yeah, there's way more than I want to say. There's almost 200 songs added to the store. I'm sorry, the music app. Obviously, there's all your favorites. So if you know the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword soundtrack, then you know what's going to be on here. I don't need to name off all 186 tracks here. Total runtime of 5 hours and 24 minutes. So there you go. I don't think I need to say any more about that. You know what's on there. My favorite of the titles that I skimmed through here, Dozing Until Dawn, which was my funk fusion band back in the day. That's it for the news today. Let's go ahead and move over to what have I been playing this past week. All right, so I was playing a game called I Am Your Beast, and I actually finished this one. This is a quick, fast-paced, first-person shooter kind of game where your goal is to make it to the exit of each level, of course. But essentially, what you do is you are like a agent. You're like the best agent from a sector of the government, and they need you to do one final mission, but they've done too many one final missions, and now you're feeling remorse for your actions. So what do? You decide to split off from this agency, and they hunt you down. And you make your home in like this forest area. It's very snowy. There's cliffs and mountains and caves and all that stuff. So yeah, you go through each level. You try and make it to the end. You can either some levels you don't even need to actually kill enemies, but obviously because you are a hot-blooded fugitive, you tend to do that anyway. But yeah, so, I mean, essentially, you have an objective in the level, and then you do that objective, and you try and beat it as quickly as you can, and you get graded on that. So it's kind of like Neon White in that way. Even though I prefer Neon White, and Mullet Mad Jack is another game that I prefer over this one, I think that this is still a very good, fast-paced, like time trial-based first-person game. Essentially, you take a lot of stuff from the environment and use it to your advantage. So you can like take a piece of bark off the ground and throw it at an enemy and then kick them while they're down. Or you can pick up a gun and shoot a couple headshots and then throw it at someone to stun them, and then you take them down. You have throwing knives. You can throw a throwing knife at someone, or you can use it to stab people. There's sniper rifles and RPGs and bear traps that you can use, and also claymores you can throw at people. So there's a lot of different ways to get through levels. A lot of times things are set up for you. So like, oh, there's a beehive hovering above this group of 3 enemies. Oh, I wonder what to do. So it's a bit on the nose, and it doesn't let you experiment as much as I would like to experiment in a game like this, but it's still very good. I think it still gets the job done very well. And the reason why I'm so late to the party on this one is because I really didn't know about this game until the Ferret Awards nominations came around, and General Kenobi, a friend of the channel, member of the Discord, moderator for me, he wrote it down for the Best Shooter Award, and I was like, "What is this game? I want to check out this game." And I checked it out, and what do you know? It was a very cool first-person shooter. So props to him for bringing it to my attention, because these are the kind of games that I really love. I love to really talk about games that are kind of going under the radar. And this year, I think I Am Your Beast is one of those games where it's like it released, I didn't even know about it, and it's actually a very good game. Like I said, it's not the best of like these fast-paced first-person shooters that I've played, at least not even like this year, but still a very good time. It had a very good story. I got more emotionally invested in the story than I thought I was going to, especially with this character's relationship with like an undercover agent inside the organization that's helping you, and I felt a bit more feelings than I thought I was going to get, that I thought I was going to feel, I should say. And then there's also like this whole like side missions where there's like a support group for the soldiers that didn't die during your various escapades, and they tell of like they give you like some special abilities, like, oh, the one guy's like, oh, I saw him punch a man's head clean off, so they give you super punch, and now you go around the level doing super punch and all that. So it was a very fun time. Very it's not like wholly unique, but it's still a very fun time, and it was I enjoyed my time with it. I thought that was very good. I don't like enjoy the graphical style of the game. I think it's maybe a bit, I don't know. I just don't fully enjoy the graphical style of the game. I don't know exactly what it is, but even though I like I like the snow aesthetic and like the snowy aesthetic and the forest aesthetic, I think that's fine. I think that the graphic style they chose for it is maybe a bit too plain or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what I mean by it, but there's something with the graphics that I don't like. I think they're fine, but I don't like them a lot. And the music too, I thought that it wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't like super big on the music either. I thought the music maybe could have used a few bit more upbeat tracks or maybe a different style to it. What I did really like about the game was the voice acting. I think the voice acting was really good in this game, like especially the guy you play as, Harding. He has like a really good voice actor. Like there's moments where you're like, wow, I mean, it sounds like he's actually like, there's one point where like you need to like fix an injury, and so he needs to like set his bone or something like that, and it really felt visceral and real, and I was like, holy shit, like this guy's going all out, like pay this man. So I mean that's the general gist of it. I'm not gonna get too far into it. I did beat the game. I thought it was very good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was above average. I thought it was good, really enjoyable. If you like fast paced, time trial based kind of first person shooters like Neon White, but not as strict as Neon White. You can still get through most levels with an A rank by just kind of killing enemies and getting points for that, and then finding the exit. If you just kind of run straight to the exit, a lot of times you'll still get like an A rank because they want you to kind of get a few bonus points, because depending on how you kill an enemy, like with an explosion, with a beehive, or with a gun or whatever, those give you bonus seconds that add to your time. So, if you are at an A rank with your speed at the moment, and then you do like a triple kill explosion, that might boost you up into the S rank. So it's one of those kind of games where the kills you get count towards, they give you time off of your total time at the end of it all. But like I said, if you're looking for a game like this and you haven't played Neon White, I would highly suggest playing Neon White before this one. But if you're looking for a more budget-friendly game, this one was only like $15. And Neon White's like 30 to 40, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, this is a good version of a game like that, but like I said, it's not the best version of a game like this, even though it's very good still. I still prefer a couple of other high-octane kind of fast-paced first-person shooters over this one. Still good, though. There's also challenge levels you can unlock by doing specific objectives during your run in the game. The other thing that I didn't really enjoy about it was that you go through the level once, and then it unlocks one special objective. Then you have to go through the level again and do that special objective, and then you have to go through the level again because there's another special objective. So you have to go through the level at least 3 times, and I feel like if they just just give me both of those objectives on my second run, I feel like that would be totally fine. I could maybe knock them out twice at the same time, give myself a little bit extra challenge. No, can't do that. You have to go through the level once, get a grade, go through the level again, maybe get 3 sniper rifle kills in this level specifically, and then it unlocks another one where it's like, okay, only get knockdown kills in this level. And it's like, why do I need to, like, sure, I would have to do those again, but why not just give me the full scope of what you want me to do right away, But like I said, I still would recommend this one, but I wouldn't recommend it over other games that I've already mentioned, like Mullet Mad Jack and Neon White. I feel like those games are better than this one. I would recommend it over Angerfoot, though. I wasn't a big fan of Angerfoot. I think I like this better than Angerfoot. I didn't beat Angerfoot, so that's also another thing that you can factor into if you want to buy it or not as well. I also have been playing Rise of the Ronin again. I'm very much trying to get it beaten before the end of the year, but at this point, it just keeps kind of going on and on and on. And I don't know how many areas are in this game or how many chapters in this game, but I just feel like it just kind of is. It's a game where it's like you started off and you're in that first area and you're like, oh, it's cool. You get to find all these collectibles and you do these missions and you choose between these factions. And then it just kind of like repeats in the second area, but it's a bigger area. And it's like, oh man, do I really want to find all the cats in this area? Do I really want to find all the shrines again? Do I really want to go to every location and take all the pictures and hunt down all the fugitives? And at the end of the day, I said, no, I don't really want to do all that. So if it's on my way to an objective, I will do like a side mission or hunt, the bandits or whatever, hunt down the bandits or find the cats. But at this point, I feel like the game has really overstayed its welcome for me personally, because not only is the story like not really super interesting, it does seem to be repeating over and over again, where it's like, okay, you go after this one guy, and then you fight him in like this brutal boss battle that takes like several tries, and then after you beat him, you don't kill him. No, you don't kill him. He gets away somehow, and then you meet him again later on. It's like, come on, like I just there's some games where it's like, in this moment, in this situation, this character that I just fought and I just stabbed like 50 times and I just took their health down to 0 twice in a row, they're dead, right? Nope, they go down to one knee and they go, "Oh, you won't defeat the order," and then they run away. And it's like, what do you mean they run away? I sliced this dude in half at one point. You know? It's just one of those games that needed to kill off characters when they needed to be killed off. I understand that there are some moments in the story that's like, well, of course he should get away, or of course this guy shouldn't die because it was just like an accidental fight or whatever, right? But there are some moments where you're going after like the big bad of the game, and it's like, well, why didn't we just kill him here? Like, why not just kill this dude? But that's just not how it works out. Also, choosing between the factions, it really does push you towards a particular faction in general, especially later in the game. And I just find that so ridiculous. That's like all throughout the game, it's like choose between purple or green faction. But like you enter into a new area and you immediately just befriend the green faction first, and then you can befriend the purple faction. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, just give me an option to choose either one or the other. And it hardly does that in the game. The main objective is always helping either side specifically, and I just don't like that. Another thing that's been quite annoying is the combat in the game. I have found my favorite weapon, which is the Odachi, but the combat is just kind of all over the place for me. I know I started off being very positive about it, but the whole idea of like switching your stances and the timing and the whatever, it just has become a grating experience, especially when they throw you into a boss fight and you have the wrong stance equipped. And in order to change your stance, you have to hold down a button and then choose it with your joystick. And sure, it only takes a couple of seconds when you're in like a normal combat encounter. But when you go into a boss fight after a cutscene, they usually allow the boss to get the first move in, which means they are the more aggressive. They're the aggressor, right? So you don't have time to really switch your thing around to the right stance because the boss is already coming at you. And in a game like Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, or something like that, you don't really need to change your stance to better suit yourself. You just kind of need to be careful of what the boss is doing at the beginning and then do your buffs, or do your buffs before you enter into a room, right? You can't really do that in Rise of the Ronin. I understand that this is the first time for Team Ninja to do like a more grandiose, broader scale game, but I feel like they really need to hone things back in and remember what really worked about the Neo series and what worked about their game that came out last year. It was what was the name of that game? I forget what the name of the game was right now. It was the one that was based in like Chinese mythology, had a very similar style to their other games like Neo games. I love that game. I thought it was really good. It didn't make my top 10 that year, but I still really enjoyed the game, right? Hey, it had banners or something. It doesn't matter. So I understand that they're doing a more grandiose thing, but I think they needed to make this game more so like the game that came out last year that I can't remember the name of right now, because that game, even though it wasn't like a giant open world and blah, 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 it still had like very good detailed levels. It had a very nice style to it. It had a very good idea for like using the banners to lower the enemy's willpower. And they could have done a similar thing for Rise of the Ronin. You can still make it maybe open world, but have the enemy's power levels get drained by finding collectibles and doing things. It doesn't really work that way. And when you're in a level specific thing, you do take down like the harder enemies to lower the will of the final boss, but it doesn't really change too much. It doesn't really do too much to that final overall boss fight. So those are the kind of the things that I don't like about Rise of the Ronin. I think it's still a competent game at least, but if you're not a person who's a fan of like the bloated, I don't want to give any examples because I'm gonna anger an entire community. But if you like those more bloated and larger than life kind of games that just have too much to do, too many side quests, too many collectibles, too much story going on, in the way of like it's just elongating itself for no reason, then this is a game for you. But for me personally, even though I'm trying to get through it and I'm working my way through it, just kind of going straight for main objectives, it still feels like it's taking forever to get anywhere. And the story has been relatively uninteresting because you start off and you're like, oh, it's cool. Like it's the Western civilization, mashing with the Eastern civilization, and there's a faction that doesn't want to do that, and there's a faction that does want to do that, and you kind of help out who you feel like should win that battle. But it just kind of like, it just doesn't really go anywhere. It just kind of is the same thing throughout the entire thing. So even though Rise of the Ronin was a fun time at the beginning. That first area is a nice first area. I think it was a perfect way to kind of start the game off, but it was too perfect. And unlike Ghost of Tsushima, where you do go further and further into that map and find more and more objectives, at least like getting around the map is fun and going to each objective is satisfying. You feel like you're really making a difference in the world. And Rise of the Ronin, it doesn't really feel like that. It feels like you're doing an objective just to get the XP or just to get the new weapon. It doesn't really feel like you're doing anything in the world per se. I mean, sure, there's less enemies walking around, but I mean, in general, it just doesn't really make a difference for me personally. And at the end of the day, I can still get through most of the main missions without even going through half of the objectives in a single area. So take that with what you will, but that's that. I also was playing and finished Donkey Kong Land 3. I was a bit worried about this one because the second game was such a dud, in my opinion. It really tried to emulate the original SNES version too much, which made me not like it, because it needed to do its own thing. With these Game Boy games, it just has to do its own thing because you can't one for one replicate an SNES experience like Diddy's Conquest on a Game Boy. It's just not going to happen. At least not until the Game Boy Color would come out. Donkey Kong Land 3 did do its own thing. Even though it shared some similarities between the original game, it did do its own thing. And I really enjoyed Donkey Kong Country 3 back when we played it last year for Donkey Kong December. And yeah, I mean, it quickly rose to being my favorite Donkey Kong Country game in general, and actually it's now one of my favorite games of all time. I really enjoyed my time with that. I thought the boss fights were great and blah, 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 blah. Donkey Kong Land 3 kind of has the same issues as the original Donkey Kong Land, where it's like, it's good, it has its own ideas, I think it does things well, but the boss fights are just awful. Like, they're just terrible. And, it's obviously a dumbed down and, like, a small screen to work on, so it's not going to be anywhere near as good as those original games, but it still is a competent and fine way to play Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. And I was hoping that they were going to release another Donkey Kong game by the end of this week. Didn't seem to happen. And I was really hoping that was going to be the Game Boy Donkey Kong game, which I've heard so many good things about from various YouTubers, but it just hasn't come around. And I've been waiting for it for so long to play that game because it just seems so interesting. Starting off with the original Donkey Kong arcade stuff, but then going into a more Mario adventure. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And, of course, I guess that people are wrong about Donkey Kong 64 coming to the service. It seems like that's never going to happen. Speaking of the Nintendo 64, though, we played and finished a game called All-Star Baseball 99. If you don't know what this game is, it's a baseball game. And I don't really play a lot of baseball games because, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not good at baseball games. Okay? I'm man enough to admit that, okay? And with this game, it was kind of the same old story where I just kind of get a bit bored with it. I get a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Antsy while playing it. Like, I want the game to go a bit faster. I find games like these, especially these older games that are sports games, to be much more difficult to play than what I remember. And I think that's because you get so spoiled by the newer generation of these games, So, even though All-Star Baseball 99, maybe it was good back in the day, it is not good now. I would not recommend going back and playing it. The AI can just catch a ball. Like, I was having these really weird things happen where, like, the ball is, like, here, and the catcher's mitt is definitely, like, below it, but he would still catch the ball. Or it was, like, rolling beside him, and he obviously wasn't in the area of the ball, but he caught the ball. So it's just one of those things that's, like, I was getting very frustrated with it and very annoyed with it, but it was also a funny game. It was also funny. It was a funny bad game, which I do, like, even though there was a bit of rage and a bit of, like, annoyance, there was still a bit of fun in there as well, which I like. I like in my bad games, I prefer to be laughing along with it and not just being annoyed, like with Jet Force Gemini, which I did not finish, by the way. So, All-Star Baseball 99, maybe not the game that you want to go back and play, but it's, I guess, a competent baseball game at the end of the day. And I was able to win a game, and I called it at there because, like, I was not enjoying my time with it. So, there you go. Okay, that's it for today's episode, folks. Remember to go and vote in the Ferret Awards. I would very much appreciate that. The form will be linked down in the description on YouTube and on Spotify. It's also available in the Discord and attached to the hype video on my YouTube channel, Yemmy the Ferret, the one that you might be watching this video on right now. Let's go ahead and do the song of the day. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, I will give you a super reaction in the Discord and you'll get the admiration of your peers. On YouTube, I will give you a heart and a congratulations. And on Spotify, I probably will give you a congratulations if I can in the comments on Spotify. Let's go ahead and listen to today's song right now. Okay, if you know the name of the song and the game that came from, let me know in the places that I told you. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ferret 64. There might be a weird thing with the schedule in the future here because the Ferret Awards are coming out, so I might just do an episode like I did last year with the Ferret Awards and maybe a couple of news articles afterwards. Don't forget that there is also the top 10 games of 2024 coming soon. That'll be about midway through January, so keep an eye out for that. Obviously, it's one of my favorite things to do in the year because it really sums up what I liked about the games that came out, obviously. And if you want to be a part of the contest for that, you just need to join the Discord, and there will be the rules and instructions there in the future. Right now, though, the Ferret Awards are my big thing, and if you want to present a category, just head over to the Discord and say what category you would like to present in the Ferret Awards section on the Discord. All right, folks, if you want to follow me anywhere else, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, etc. I also have a VODs channel for past streams called Yemmy the Ferret VODs, where I re-upload the VODs for streams, if you want to check those out. I also stream on Twitch, Yemmy the Ferret, at Yemmy the Ferret on Twitch, twitch.tv/Yemmy the Ferret on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We're getting close to the end of December 64, where I only played N64 games. And right now we are playing Excite Bike 64. It's been a bit more challenging than I thought it would be, but I think I'm getting a hold of the controls now. And then also I do another podcast called Film Freaks with a Z at the end, where we talk about movies. The latest episode about Jingle All the Way. Next week's episode is going to be for Die Hard, if you want to check that out. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ferret 64. I'm Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. So long. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.